Today on the Tearsheet Podcast.
We're announcing today that Marqeta is moving into the credit space, similar to how we've executed and grown from our sort of origins as an issuer processor on the prepaid and debit side of the business with our customers. We have seen a ton of demand from our existing customers and also potential customers for us to take some of the attributes, characteristics, and actions that we've taken with modern APIs and good program management into the credit space.
Welcome to the Tearsheet Podcast. I'm Tearsheet's editor-in-chief, Zack Miller. A lot's going on the issuing side. New players are entering, competition is crossing borders, and existing players are expanding into new products. Marqeta is making perhaps the biggest expansion of its platform since its launch. I'm joined by Chief Product Officer Kevin Doerr to talk about the firm's new credit card issuing platform. We talk about what that means for the firm, its customers, and its competition. Doerr joined the firm last year, and it's been a wild one. He shares his experiences that show a company in growth mode, coping with the changes of organic expansion, as well as the challenges of dealing with the pandemic. Kevin Doerr is my guest today on the Tearsheet Podcast.
My name is Kevin Doerr. I'm the Chief Product Officer for Marqeta. I lead the product design, engineering, and infrastructure teams here at the company. I have spent the last considerable number of years working on projects that are similar in nature to some of the technical and operational challenges that Marqeta has faced, typically high scale, high availability, distributed systems.
So it's probably been a pretty quiet year for you in your first year at Marqeta, right? Given everything that's going on, micro and macro.
Yeah, it was good that it was slow. I could ease my way into it.
Exactly. Well, tell me how the year was. You just jumped right in, not just to a rocket ship of a company, but obviously into crazy times. What was the past year been like?
It's been fantastic. I know it's a great question. I think, it starts with sort of onboarding almost completely remotely. I had a great chance to meet, the executive team, board, investors, and a few of my leadership team, but the vast majority of my now large team, I've not met in person. It's only been over electronic, Zoom or Meet or other products. And so that's been interesting in and of itself, is how to sort of land yourself into an organization, build the trust, build the credibility, build the relationships that are necessary to be able to then put plans in place and be able to execute. That in itself has been really interesting and challenging, but fun. I think the other part that we're probably both not dancing around at all has been the pandemic, and the sort of extraordinary impact that's had on companies like Marqeta. Obviously, the pandemic itself and its sort of grim reality has been extremely challenging for the entire United States and for the world at large. But the impact on payments infrastructure, digital payments, and the behavioral changes we've seen have been extraordinary. You've seen massive growth and uptake of products and services that our customers offer, whether it's on-demand delivery or P2P payments or other areas, as well as contactless payments, which has become a critical part now and sort of adopted part of our usual retinue in terms of transactions. All those things have served to grow our business dramatically over the past year.
And I guess as part of that, that rising tide, there were some industries like travel, I assume, that were faced with extremely hard macro factors.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely had a couple of categories. I think travel was an area. I think expense management, as organizations, corporations pull back from their normal sort of motion of travel. I think those areas and some of our customers certainly saw some unfavorable trends. Those have started to change already for some of those customers, and travel never really went away, but it has been a pretty big hit to those customers. And I think we've stuck with them, and we've tried to provide the support that we can through the last year or so.
And I know you have a big announcement today, so I think now's probably a good time to talk about the news.
Great, thanks. So we're announcing today that Marqeta is moving into the credit space, similar to how we've executed and grown from our sort of origins as an issuer processor on the prepaid and debit side of the business with our customers. We have seen a ton of demand from our existing customers and also potential customers for us to take some of the attributes, characteristics, and actions that we've taken with modern APIs and good program management into the credit space. And so we've been working on a product and a set of features, and with some partnerships in the industry to be able to accelerate our launch into that space and be able to move into that adjacent market. It's a very natural adjacency for us and for our customers. So we're announcing that today, and we're excited to take that out to our customer base.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a very smart move, and I know it's one that Jason had mentioned to us a while back, that the company was interested in moving in that direction. Was this something that existing clients were asking for, or does this open you up to an entirely new set of customers, or both, I guess?
Yeah, it's a bit of both.
Yeah.
I think that for those companies that have sort of either been in that market or engaged that market before, let's say they have existing offers in the marketplace, there's certainly they've gone through the experience, and they know that the time to market for these products can be extremely lengthy. They know that the kind of controls that they're used to in working with Marqeta around debit and prepaid cards are not available to them with some of the existing providers and things like that. And they also know that they want more features. They want accelerated development of those features. They want to be more innovative in terms of the use cases that they're providing to their own customers. And they're looking to Marqeta to essentially replicate some of the things that we've done around in other areas of cards in credit specifically. That's the feedback that we've heard from our customer base.
That's interesting. And what were some of the challenges, I guess, technically or business wise, in launching a credit product? I know this is sort of seen as the holy grail.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think from a business point of view, the business case that supported our investments here have been demand from existing customers, opportunity with newer and even larger customers, a clear perspective that some of the characteristics that I just talked about were still in place. Right? It takes a long time to get these programs together and get to market. You may not have all the granular controls you want over configuration settings. You may not have the sort of the acceleration of changes you want to make to programs in the marketplace, right? I think of some of these aspects similar to how we saw sort of marketing technology evolve, where customers were, placing advertising at a very slow pace early in the proceedings, and then things continue to accelerate to where MarTech is essentially managed in large part by machine learning. And the ability to move programs and campaigns quickly, daily, hourly, by the minute to get the optimal result. And I think when customers look at the opportunity that we created in prepaid and debit, and that flexible granular control and the ability to execute on a plan or a new insight from their own data very, very quickly, they wanted to see us offer that in the credit space. And so the business case for us became very clear to align with that. To build with a similar level of scale, availability, and quality that we have in our other areas, and then take that to market. I think one of the challenges from a business model point of view is it's a very different business, completely different business. And so what we're choosing to do here is to enter the marketplace with other partners. We are entering into sort of doing what we do best with respect to credit, but we're going to work with some other partners to help on some of the program management side and on some of the ledger side initially. And so we're excited about that because it gets us into market faster for our customers to be able to deploy. And on the technical side, I think, the good news there is a lot of what we have built and the way we've built it to support the debit and prepaid programs around the globe. There's a very similar way of thinking, a very similar DNA to how we sort of construct the platform pieces, infrastructure pieces, and then the application stack. What is different here is some of the complexity around the rewards programs that we're putting in place, obviously complexity around managing APR, obviously complexities around managing calculations on fees and interest and things like that. There's a number of technical challenges that are different from some of the other operations that we run, and we've just looked at those very, very carefully, learned as much as we can, and then iterated over time to get to where we are ready for launch today.
Yeah, it sounds like a massive undertaking. Going back to the partners, can you give us an example? You mentioned on the ledger side and rewards, I think it was. Do you have any named partners at this point, and what that partner sort of network might evolve to? Is the idea to bring in more and more partners, or the idea is eventually to consolidate that so that you guys are sort of taking over some of those functions longer term?
Yeah, no, great question, Zach. So we're launching our first partner that we're launching with is Deserve.
Mhm.
We're not exclusive; neither company is exclusive in this arrangement, but we're super excited about their technical capabilities, their perspective on the marketplace, the way they think about customers, customer support, and service. We're very aligned. There's really good DNA match between the two companies, and so our MVP, we really understood that they were the right partner to be able to take some of the sort of infrastructure and operational approach, specifically around underwriting and program management,
Mm.
that would allow us to move more quickly and be able, for both of us, be able to serve customers much more quickly in this space. So we're super excited about it. We do expect that there could be other partners in the future that we work with, both on the program management side, but potentially on the bank side. And look, it's most important for us to be able to provide customers what they need as quickly and as robustly as possible. I think we think about other parts of that stack and other parts of the operational side as a sort of a later question for us.
Got it. Um, and going back to some of those adjacencies that you talked about between, credit and prepaid that you talked about, um, are there things in credit from a use case point of view that we haven't necessarily seen in working with the rails that you've worked with until now? Will we see sort of new creative use cases, or is it going to be similar sort of Marqeta style, really embedded, customized use cases to your customers?
I think it's going to be more of the former, Zach. I think we're going to see a lot more interesting use cases come out of the capabilities that we're providing to customers. And I guess I go back to sort of our core, which is, we're a developer company. We're built for developers.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we enable a set of given transactions, want some level of robustness and completeness, what we're doing is we're giving sort of a set of functionality to another set of developers at other companies to think about their use cases and to think about them, extremely creatively over what is their value proposition, what's the differentiation that they can build on top of these APIs. And so that enablement is really the thing that we've been successful with in terms of prepaid and debit. And now we're bringing that same kind of playbook, that same motion to the credit marketplace. I do think on top of that, you are starting to see some interesting use cases and customers that are in the Marqeta stable with other products today. A company like Fold, which is using even a debit card today, and the notion of a rewards program that's actually tied to Satoshis, if you will.
Hmm.
Spin the wheel at a transaction, and it's a bit of a gamification of it. But the card is proving to be wildly popular, and it's a great way to sort of deliver a rewards program to a slightly different audience. That's very different from what you might see at sort of the traditional, American Express. We've got miles with airlines.
Mm-hmm.
I love the thinking behind that, and I think there's many, many other companies and customers, potential customers, that can deliver really innovative use cases, and we're here to support them, whether they are in the financial form, the rewards form, or in other areas around the performance. Right? What can you do? What kind of functionality can you build into the application to make it easier and easier for customers to want to do business with you and have it top of wallet?
Very interesting. And can you give us some insight into the go-to-market plan?
Yeah, so we're gonna work closely with Deserve as we roll out. We'll go into beta. We're going into beta right now, actually, and our intent is to work with a couple of customers to get into motion with it, understand what we need to understand, make sure that we have all the operationalization to our products, APIs, and support that we need to, and then start to open up to other programs later this year. We anticipate having several programs on board by the end of the year for sure. But we want to get started with a few beta customers and make sure that everything that we've been building, as we start to operationalize that, is going to meet their needs. It's often the case that when we get into market, we find that there are a couple of more, transactions that customers will want or need to flesh out their use case or experience, and we want to be able to use those as fast follows on our roadmap to provide solutions for customers.
Were there certain skills on your team in particular, Kevin, that maybe you had to hire for or I guess evolve to be able to launch a product like this?
Yes, always.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I found is, you always want great developers and great
Mm-hmm.
PMs, period. But it does play to have specific expertise in banking infrastructure, and whether that's prepaid, debit, credit, or any of the above, as an understanding of, what's the fundamental banking infrastructure look like? What are the protocols that are used? What's the understanding of the messages that are typically moved back and forth? How do you manage the data files? How do you continue to take the combination of all four of those things and create systems and architecture that produce the least amount of latency, highest amount of performance, and also the highest degree of surety or certainty that the money you're moving around is as accurate as possible. So having people from the community, and I'd like to think about sort of the fintech community, the modern fintech community, has been very helpful. And we continue to recruit, those talented folks on board, whether it's in design or engineering or product.
Well, congratulations on the launch. Very exciting. And Kevin, thank you for joining us on the Tearsheet Podcast today.
Thanks so much, Zach. I appreciate it.